Yeah, I should win just because you had the Timberwolves in the 8th seed.
Vasilevsky's been playing really well, and the Lightning have a great offense.
Yeah, it was a tremendous shot, and I've come to expect it from LeBron, who's become one of the clutchest players in NBA history as of recently.
So I have him going off one night, but I think he's just going to get tired. So that's why I have the Nets winning in 5.
I would say I wish the best for the Red Sox, but as a Yankees fan, that's really hard for me to do.
The biggest addition to me is Jalen Brunson.
Both teams that beat the Rangers are rebuilding faster than the Rangers.
Why'd you have to name him? Like, seriously. Thanks, man. To me, those top 2 starters are Lucas Giolito and Lance Lynn.
Kaprizov and the rest of this crew. Jordan Greenway, who doesn't get enough props. He definitely is somebody who needs to be mentioned more. I definitely think it's going to be a great series, and I'm interested to see how much Kaprizov can impact the game as a rookie.
How is Joe Burrow going to get the ball to them if his butt is already on the ground when he finally decides who to throw to?
Aaron Rodgers is Aaron Rodgers, and that's all I have to say. He's still a top 5 quarterback in this league, and there's nothing really anyone can do about it.
All I could think of was Dame.
I don't think they will. If they don't have Anthony Davis, I'm saying it right now, if Anthony Davis is out for the playoffs, they don't make it out of the first round.
And then I want to talk about the Fernando Tatis extension, because that really surprised me. Because he's so young.
The Hurricanes just have too much. They're probably the most complete team this year, and I anticipate them winning.
You know what this means, Bengals. Take the nice one. Do not let what happened to Andrew Luck happen to Joe Burrow.
Clippers versus the Nets. Who would have thought 5 years ago that the Clippers and Nets would be facing in the finals?
But I have the Sixers versus Jazz.
Crazy. And for the fans at home, for the listeners at home.
Hello, I'm Cy Mendenhall, and you're listening to Outsiders Opinions with Kevin and Austin.
What's up, y'all? Welcome to a review of the NFL Draft. We did predictions yesterday before the draft, and I won 12-3. Last year, Austin won 11-7. All time, it is me with 19 points versus Austin's 14 points. There were 9 first-round trades during the draft. And that doesn't include all the other picks that were traded before the draft. So it was crazy, but the first overall pick from the Jaguars was Trayvon Walker. This is very interesting because they're going with upside on the first pick, and I'm not sure how I feel about that, but we'll see how he plays.
Yeah. He's a very raw talent, and because he's raw, it's a risky pick in my opinion. I'm not confident that he's going to be the best of these defensive linemen to go in the first round, but I don't know. It was just surprising to me that he was first off the board because I thought that the next guy was much more suitable for a team like the Jaguars who do not want to risk having a bust at the number 1 pick.
Yeah, and that's Aiden Hutchinson drafted by the Lions. I really like this pick for them because I would have drafted Aiden Hutchinson number 1 because of he's a good pick. For sure he's going to be a good player. Trayvon Walker I think will be a good player, but will he be the best overall in the draft? Not sure about that. If he hits his upside, then yes, but it's a risky pick. So I agree with you there, but it's great. Hutchinson stays in Michigan and the Lions get a great defensive player.
Yeah, and I think he has like I said yesterday when we did this, I said that he had the highest floor, and I truly believe that. I do not think he's going to be a bust. Now, he may not be as good as some of those other defensive linemen, but I do think he will be a solid starter in the league.
Yeah, I agree. And now we go to number 3. Derek Stingley, drafted by the Texans. He's a great player, and they're just getting nice players. I think works. They can address offensive line, everything. A few of the years, maybe through free agency, make another trade, or through the draft. But it will be interesting to see how they did. But I really don't have anything against them. It doesn't matter which way you go. You just got a good player.
Yeah, I would have gone offensive line to help out your QB, but I'm totally fine with the way they moved here because I think Derek Stingley, like I said last time, is the best player in the draft, or not the best player in the best corner in the draft, and they got an offensive lineman later in the draft anyway.
Yeah, and now we'll go to number 4. Ahmed Gardner, drafted the Jets. This is great for them. It fills a need in their secondary and on defense, and he's a heck of a player. So Robert Saleh just getting more defensive players, which is good.
Yeah, and I feel like they should have gone with a defensive player. I probably would have gone Kayvon Thibodeau, but it's not a bad pick.
Yeah, now we'll go to number 5. The Giants select Kayvon Thibodeau. Like you were talking about, great for them getting a nice defensive presence on the line and building up that line, because that's when they won the 2 Super Bowls, they had a great line on defense.
Yeah, and I definitely like this pick. I think he has the highest upside of any of the defensive linemen and probably has the potential to be the best player out of this draft when everyone retires. Now, will that happen? We'll have to see.
Yeah, we will have to see. Now, number 6, the Panthers. I think they made the right move, building up their offensive line by selecting Ikem Okonu. I had him selecting a QB, but I'm glad they went the offensive line route because they do need help on the offensive line no matter who your quarterback is.
Yeah, and this was my only completely correct selection, and I'm glad I got one completely correct. I got another half one later, but I thought that they should go offensive tackle, and they obviously did, and I think that he's a great player to help out for whoever their future QB is after next season when they get uh, a a better QB draft to select from.
Yeah, and maybe they'll snag someone in the second round. We don't know. Now, number 7, Giants get Evan Neal, building up that offensive line for Daniel Jones and maybe a quarterback they select in the second round. I don't know if they do that as we're recording before the second round, but either way, they needed to solidify their tackles, and they did, and that's a good job for them.
Yeah, I had Evan Neal going third to the Texans, but I didn't see him falling this far. I also thought that he would be the first offensive lineman off the board, but obviously he wasn't. I think this is a great pick for the Giants, who definitely need to solidify a line that can hopefully give Daniel Jones a true chance of being a starter.
Yeah, we'll have to see. Now we go to number 8, Drake London. This was surprising to me that London, I think he was my first player. No, he was my first wide receiver drafted, but I'm just surprised the Falcons didn't trade back or no one traded up to the Falcons pick, but they selected a wide receiver, and that does fulfill a need. Not sure how Drake London compares to the other wide receivers, but it'll be interesting.
Yeah, I had Drake London as my second wide receiver off the board at number 11. I had Jameson Williams going at 10, but I definitely think that Drake London is a quality, but I don't necessarily. He'll have to grow into himself. He wasn't an outright uh, legend at USC, obviously, but he does have a lot of intangibles, and I'm excited to see how it works out. I'm also glad they got Marcus Mariota some help after his for his first year as a starter in a while. They obviously already have Kyle Pitts, but after losing Calvin Ridley, they needed a wide receiver to get, and they obviously got him.
Yeah, I agree. And then number 9, I like what the Seahawks are doing. They get a nice offensive line, Charles Cross, just to solidify their line because that has been a weakness for the past few years.
Yeah, I'd Cross going at 7, but he fell to 9. It's a good selection, especially if they plan on giving a chance to Drew Lock as a full-time starter, which I believe they should do. Uh, so yeah, I like the pick.
Yeah, now we'll move on to number 10. Jets fulfill a need. Fill a need by getting wide receiver Garrett Wilson, and I really like that, giving Zach Wilson a weapon that he can grow with. But they fill another need, but they also got a nice defensive player with their 4th overall pick. So I don't have any qualms with them doing this.
Yeah, and when they have guys like Corey Davis on their team already, I definitely think that this is going to be not a bad wide receiver tandem. So I feel like they're going to have a solid start to the year if they can just get their defense shaken out.
Now we go to the first trade of the night, and that's the Saints trading up with the Washington Commanders, and they grabbed Chris Olave. I'm surprised they traded up once again to get a wide receiver. Maybe they saw the run once the Falcons drafted Drake London. They wanted to get Olave. I like this pick, and now they get another wide receiver to pair with Michael Thomas or replace Michael Thomas if Thomas is injured like he was last season.
Yeah, and I don't know the last time that back-to-back picks are wide receivers from the same school, especially at 10 and 11, that high. Maybe it happens in the later rounds, but 10 and 11, same school, same position. That doesn't happen a lot, and I think both of them are good. I think that Garrett Wilson's going to be better, but Chris Olave taking an 11 is not a bad pick.
Yeah, and now we go another trade. The Lions trade up to get Jameson Williams. I like this. They're getting another weapon to pair with Brown. Um, and then Williams, let him heal up, and then you have a good wide receiving core for Jared Goff or QB you want in the future. But I'm just surprised we have 3 straight picks of wide receivers, and 2 of them teams traded up to draft that wide receiver.
Yeah, and I like this move because this shows that they're actually giving Jared Goff a true chance at being a starter, just like I said, the Giants, who obviously need to, but the Lions could have, if they wanted to, taken a quarterback here. Obviously, they didn't. I think that's definitely the right choice. Jameson Williams, I think, will be the best wide receiver in the draft, even though many people may not feel that way because of all of the injuries that have happened during the season last year. But I think he'll be good, and I'm glad the Lions got him.
Now we have another third straight trade up during the draft, and that was Jordan Davis, selected by the Philadelphia Eagles. It's a really good pick for the Eagles. They get Fletcher Cox, and then they get his successor, Jordan Davis, who we were talking about when we were making predictions, how he's fantastic. And now you get 1 year of Fletcher Cox and Jordan Davis together, and I think that's going to be incredible.
Yeah, and I thought we may see 4 straight wide receivers taken because I really thought the Eagles needed to address that side of the ball. But Jordan Davis is a good pick. I thought maybe Jahan Johnson or Traylon Burks may go really high, but obviously that didn't happen. Jordan Davis, though, you're right. They've always had a good D line, especially when they won the championship. That was a big reason. So I don't blame them making this pick.
Now we go to the Ravens, who stay pat, and they get a nice defensive player in Kyle Hamilton to pair with Marcus Williams, who they signed. Safety has been a weakness for them the past few years, but they get a nice young player in Hamilton, and I really like what they did.
Yeah, this is a good selection, especially because they've been having a lot of injuries in their secondary. So picking up another secondary piece, I definitely think is a good move. And he's a young guy that I had a lot of high hopes in. So hopefully he'll turn out well.
And now this is from the Philadelphia trade, because the the Texans were at 13, but now they were at 15. They select Kenyon Green, the guard from A&M, building up a nice line, a guy that they can pair next to Tunsil for now and protect Davis Mills.
I thought, oh yeah. But Kenyon Green is a pretty good talent at A&M. I saw him play when I went to the Arkansas A&M game. That was a great game, and he was a force to be reckoned with. Even as a tackle, you could tell because he was just enforcing his will on anyone who went against him. And I definitely like this pick. The Texans are trusting their QB they have now, and I don't blame them in a QB in the draft without many star QBs in it.
Yeah, I agree. And now we go Washington, selecting a wide receiver, going with a weapon versus like a protector, because Zion Johnson and other offensive linemen were still on the board at this moment. Um, it was just interesting. We'll have to see how Doxson turns out, but I'm just intrigued with this is a route that they chose.
Yeah, and Terry McLaurin had obviously been working basically by himself as the primary good wide receiver. They had some other talent there, but it was mainly Terry McLaurin as a wide receiver threat. But now they add to it, and they're going to need him to step up because he'll be this. I bet the second target on this team next year, and in a relatively close division. Like I don't think any of those teams are going to run away with it this year. They have a solid chance if their defense can hold through.
Yeah, I agree. And now we get to the Chargers selecting Zion Johnson, the guard from Boston College. Really nice pick, adding in their line. They could have gone defense, but I'm totally fine with them building up that O line and protecting Herbert, and he already has plenty of weapons. So good, just giving him more time to find those weapons in future games.
Yeah, and I was surprised. This was one of the picks that I was like, I'm going to get this one right, like heading up to it. And obviously, I did not. I thought Trent McDuffie was going to be selected, and that wasn't what happened. But I don't blame him. You can never have too many good offensive linemen on your team.
Yeah, now we go to another big trade. A.J. Brown was sent from the Titans to the Eagles, and the Titans take wide receiver Treylon Burks from Arkansas. He'll be a nice player. I'm just surprised that they parted ways with A.J. Brown, and that's something we've seen this offseason with wide receivers wanting a new contract being traded. Like Devontae Adams was traded, A.J. Brown, Tyreek Hill, maybe Debo Samuel. We don't know. And then there was also another trade that happened, and we'll get to that when it happens.
Yeah, another wide receiver traded was Devontae Adams, obviously, who wanted a new deal. So a lot of those guys traded, and I found this really funny. The primary comparison Traylon Burks gets is AJ Brown. He's a physical, big wide receiver who's also got a lot of speed. So I really enjoyed watching him in college, and I think he'll be a quality player. And they're obviously going to have to pay him less than they would have paid AJ Brown. So I don't mind the trade all that much.
Yeah, it just really surprised me. Like I didn't expect him to be traded on draft night. But that is a good comparison, like you said. But now we go on to 19. Trevor Penning selected by the Saints. They get a wide receiver and they get a tackle to fix the hole that Teron Armstead left when he joined the Miami Dolphins. So I really like this, and it will give Jameis Winston more time and maybe the future QB if the Saints decide that they don't want Jameis Winston to be their future quarterback.
Yeah, and I really thought that a different offensive lineman was going to go here. I had the Saints taking, obviously trading up and getting Charles Cross in the beginning, and then at 16, I had the Giants taking Tyler Smith, who eventually I believe the Cowboys got. But Trevor Penning's a quality lineman. I had the Ravens taking him at 14, and I definitely think they needed to address offensive tackle, but they obviously didn't trade it up to do so.
Yeah, they didn't. But now we go to number 20, and this pick really surprised me. The Steelers get their pick of QBs, and they select the guy from Pitt, and that's Kenny Pickett.
Yeah, from Pitt, went to Pitt, is now staying in Pitt. I was surprised initially, but the longer I looked at what the pick entailed, I wasn't that surprised. I realized the connection they had, and while I really thought Malik Willis is going to be the first QB off the board, I was obviously wrong. And I don't think Kenny Pickett will start this year, in my opinion. I don't believe he's ready to. I think that the reins will be given to Mitch Trubisky in a sort of see if you're still good year, and then it'll move on to Kenny Pickett if Mitch Trubisky can't hold down the fort. But I wouldn't be surprised if Kenny Pickett's a mainstay there for a while, as Pittsburgh's been known to take some pretty good QBs.
Yeah, I would be. It would be interesting. Out of the three, like Pickett was my lowest. Like I really like Desmond Ritter. I believed in the upside of Willis, and then Pickett. If I'm proven wrong, I'm proven wrong. I think he'll be a solid QB, but I don't know if he can be better than just like a solid QB. We'll have to see. But now we're going to 21, where the Chiefs trade up to get Trent McDuffie, the cornerback from Washington. I like this pick for them. They didn't reach on a wide receiver, and they got a guy. They got a nice corner, which is something they needed.
Trent McDuffie, I like the pick. I thought he was going to go to the Chargers. Obviously, that's same division, so not all that surprising, as there's a lot of good wide receivers in that division. Keenan Allen, Mike Williams, Devontae Adams, and obviously the Broncos have a good flurry of talent there. So I like this pick, and you're right. They did not reach on a wide receiver, which could be risky here, as I believe all the good wide receivers are already gone, and that's why I'm not mad that the Packers didn't take one with one of their two picks and keep the run alive of not taking a wide receiver in the first round. But I like this pick, as I think it's probably the most effective pick they could have done, is going for a corner, and he was the best one available.
Yeah, I agree. But now we'll move on. 22. The Packers get a nice defensive player in Guy Walker, the Georgia linebacker, and that fulfills a need, as I had him taking a linebacker. But that was with their second pick. Interesting. The way it turned out is they didn't select the first round wide receiver, which makes it 20 years since they selected a wide receiver in the first round. It's very interesting. So Rodgers does not get a first round wide receiver. So there, of course, is backlash already from that, from Rodgers, but it's still a good pick.
Yeah, I love this pick. I think linebacker was a position we needed to address, just not in the first round. I didn't have them taking a linebacker in the first round, I believe. But I like this pick, and Quay Walker is a good talent.
Yeah, and now we'll go on to 23. The Bills trade up to select a corner, Kaiir Elam, the cornerback from Florida. I like this. They can pair him with Tre'Davious White, and that helps them defend all the wide receivers that are in the AFC.
Yeah, the only other pick I got partially right. They needed to address corners, so it wasn't all that hard. And once Trent McDuffie was off the board, this was the best corner available, so it made a lot of sense.
Yeah, and now we'll move on to the next pick, and that's 24. That's the Cowboys selecting Tyler Smith, the tackle. I think the Cowboys reached on here because they made tackle a glaring need by cutting La'el Collins, and there are a lot of other players like George Karlaftis or Jermaine Johnson. I would have liked to go with those two guys on the board. I would have liked one of them, or even a linebacker. Well, maybe not a linebacker because they're waiting on Jabril Cox to come back, and you have Micah Parsons. So I understand the need for tackle, but Tyler Smith is also one of the most penalized players, one of the most penalized linemen. He had 16 holding penalties last year, and that's something the Cowboys struggled with last year. And Mike McCarthy said, "We're going to fix that." Just perplexing to me that the Cowboys said, "We're going to fix our penalties," and they draft a guy who has 16 holding penalties last season.
Yeah, and that's obviously something that can change. It's not always going to stay if it can be fixed, which obviously they're hoping that it can be fixed. But I had Tyler Smith going at 16, so I don't really think they reached. But you're right, it was somebody who was highly penalized. So I had him going to the Giants at 16. A team like the Giants didn't really have an issue with penalties, despite their uh, lack of a good record. They didn't really struggle with penalties, and obviously, like you mentioned, the Cowboys do. I saw. I don't know if you guys are familiar with the ticket, but Bob Sturm said that he would retire if they took Tyler Smith, which I found was so hilarious when they took Tyler Smith. But I don't think he's going to be as bad as that reaction was, but I did find it funny.
That is very funny, but I am more skeptical now because on Bob Sturm, who's also like you mentioned the ticket, he's also writing on the Athletic for the Cowboys. On his draft board, um he had his own draft board. 60 player number 65 was Tyler Smith. So just that wide discrepancy of the Cowboys selecting someone at 24 and then a guy Bob Sturm having him at 65, Bob Sturm admitted that he can be wrong, but and like he hopes he is wrong for the Cowboys' sake. It's just very interesting that they went very far from what a lot of the main analysts have said about Tyler Smith and where they had him ranked. Because with ESPN, he was ranked around 50.
Yeah, he's a lot of intangibles though. There's a reason why I had him at 16. I saw a lot of reports saying that he's one of the most athletically gifted linemen in the draft, and with athletically gifted players, they could have a lot of upside. So let's hope that he turns into the best for the Cowboys' sake.
Oh, I hope he definitely turns out in the best. But it'll be interesting to see how he does. Because I've heard he's playing guard. That's interesting, and then he may move to tackle. But now we'll go to the center, Tyler Lindenbaum, who I also saw listed as a guard. The Ravens get him. I really like this building up that offensive line for a run game. And the Ravens did trade away Marquise Brown, which was interesting to me because they didn't select a wide receiver in the first round. So now I wonder what they're going to get in the second round or if they're going to sign someone. But it was a good trade on the Cardinals' part because they got another wide receiver to add um, to their offense. But I really like what the Ravens did with their picks. I'm just not sure about how I feel with them trading away a wide receiver where it was already a need for them with Marquise Brown, but now they just made it even more of a need.
Yeah, and Marquise Brown was obviously their best talent in that position. They obviously also have a great tight end in Mark Andrews, but they must really trust Devin Duvernay, who was a Pro Bowler last year as a returner, so maybe he could turn into something very fruitful, but we're going to have to see. I was surprised that they took a lineman here. I thought really they were going to take a wide receiver just because of the blatant need of it, but obviously they don't, and I don't think they made a bad choice taking a lineman after they lost some this summer.
Yeah, I agree with that. But now we'll have to see how they address the wide receiver position. Now we go to 26, where the Jets trade back in to the first round and they select defensive end Jermaine Johnson. I really like this. You had said they needed an edge. They get an edge. They needed a corner. They got a corner and they got a wide receiver. All first round talents. And I had Jermaine Johnson going like the top 15. So I think it's a really good value pick.
I had Jermaine Johnson going 8. You had Jermaine Johnson, let me check,
Was it 11?
13.
12. Okay.
But I really like Jermaine Johnson, and the Jets had the best draft of anyone, in my opinion. Jermaine Johnson is very underrated, I guess, and the fact that they got this pick here was utterly awe-inspiring. I think they could contend next year for a playoff spot if everything goes right with how their team is growing, and if these guys can take the next step like they look like they may be able to.
I do agree that they had a great draft. I'm not sure about the contending in the AFC. I think there'll be a fringe. I think they will.
I said
show
contend for a
growth.
playoff spot. I'm not saying they're going to be the greatest team of all time, but
Well, no, I mean, yeah, I meant contend for. I don't know if they'll be close to playoffs. I think they'll be much better, but I am curious about how their offense does with Zach Wilson. Does he take a second leap, or how does the wide receiver turn out, and how does their defense get better? If they keep the way they are with this draft, then I could see their team getting much better.
so let me
Yeah.
ask you this: Jets trade future picks for Debo. Are they a playoff contender now?
Oh, that's a good question. So what would that offense be? Garrett Wilson, Corey Davis.
Don't they still have Jamison Crowder?
No, I thought. Do they still have Crowder? I thought Crowder left.
Where'd he go?
Let me get. No, I have no idea. Is he still on him?
I'm checking right now. But they also picked up CJ.
Well, CJ Uzama.
Yeah.
I think he
Jamison
would play
Crowder's for the
Jets.
Bills now.
Oh, okay. Okay. So,
And they also have Elijah Mitchell, who's a pretty
Debo.
good running back.
Well, yeah, they do have Elijah Mitchell. The thing I'm waiting on is Wilson. Like, how does Wilson play? If
But I'm
Wilson
saying with
plays well-
Debo, so are they or are they not a contender for a playoff spot with Debo? Assuming they
I'm
just
gonna say
trade
no
future
because
picks.
I don't know about Wilson. I don't know how Wilson plays. How well Wilson will play.
You're saying Garrett Wilson?
No, I'm talking about Zach Wilson,
Oh, okay. Well, it's
the QB.
yeah.
Like, because you have weapons, but if your quarterback can't get the ball to your weapons, then there's a problem. So I just need to see how Zach Wilson plays. Even without Debo, if Zach Wilson is playing well, I think they could do it. But I do really like this defense, and I hope maybe they trade back into the second round and get a linebacker like Nakobe Dean. Just get defensive stars, because when Robert Saleh has defensive stars, it's a fantastic defense, like we saw with him in the Niners.
Yeah, and that's why I like what they've been doing so far.
Oh yeah. We'll see, and now we'll go to the Jaguars trading back in this first round, and that's getting Devin Lloyd, the linebacker. Really like this pick. Devin Lloyd's comparisons have been to Micah Parsons, which if he lives up to that, that's incredible, but still very solid linebacker and a player that can play now.
Yeah, and I thought Devin Lloyd was the best linebacker in the draft heading into the draft. So the Jaguars pick him up here at 27 is remarkable.
Yeah, now we go to 28. The Packers select another Georgia player, and that's defensive tackle Devontae Wyatt. I like what they did. I'm just surprised with the no wide receiver, and now they are dealing with the backlash from Rodgers.
Well, I there wasn't really one to take, so I'm not really all that mad about it. I understand why some could be, but all of the quality five, as I would put it, were all off. The Fab Five, if you want
Well,
to.
why not trade up and get one?
No, I feel like we're fine because we also needed a defensive lineman after we lost to Darius Smith, so I'm not all that mad about what it turned out. So I think we needed a linebacker, and after losing to Zadarius Smith, we needed a D lineman, and we filled both of those needs greatly. While some people may be mad that we didn't take a wide receiver, I don't know if it was necessarily important when we got two positions of need right there, and we obviously can still build on it in the draft because no wide receivers have been taken yet. Maybe we trade up now. And what if we trade up now to the second round and we pick up the next wide receiver that we would have gotten there? So we'll have to see before I get mad about something. We'll have to see how the Packers move forward. If the Packers move forward taking some in the second round or third round, I'd be totally fine because again, no wide receivers have come off the board since Treylon Burks left. So I feel like there's still a good chance of us picking a wide receiver then. And just because he's not quote unquote taken in the first round doesn't mean he's not going to be a good wide receiver.
Well, yeah, I'm more talking about the person that would be mad is Aaron Rodgers, and that is a problem because we've seen Rodgers, and if he's not happy with the wide receivers, it's just going to cause more problems in Green Bay. And with the Rodgers whole situation, it's going to be another thing. So that's why I thought they would have taken a wide receiver, even if with all these players on the board, they're like, "Hey, we got to keep Rodgers happy." I thought they would have taken a wide receiver, but I do find it hilarious that you do make good points. It's just I
I totally agree with what the Packers did. I totally agree. I
well,
am
yeah,
not mad at
it's
all.
nice points. It's just very funny listening to Aaron Rodgers because I was like, okay, what is Rodgers going to say? And he said he wanted Treylon Burks. He was surprised that they traded Devontae Adams, which not surprising to me, and it's just crazy. Even though they did get great players, they still have a need at wide receiver and maybe a little more a quarterback that's a little bit more upset with them than he was before.
Maybe, but I'm fine with how he drafted. I'm good with it.
Yeah, we'll see. And now a strange pick is the Cole Strange pick from guard. I had never really seen him in this, like in a lot of the mocks. But they do get a nice O lineman, so if he turns out well, then it's a good thing for them.
Yeah, and he went to Chattanooga, so it's not, or yeah, he went to Chattanooga, which means that he was probably a low prospect anyway. Many people did not see him. Maybe they saw something at the Senior Bowl or something else. But I'm not going to judge Patriots picks until we see them in action. They've made some great selections before that many people did not think would be all that good, so I'm not going to judge them just yet.
Well, yeah, I these are our initial reactions in a review, so it just surprised me, and that's why I thought it was a strange pick. But we'll see how it all turns out because you never know with how the draft is. A lot of people criticize the Josh Allen pick, and I'm sure in that draft, Josh Allen would go number one. So now we go to 30. The Chiefs get George Karlaftis, who I think great deal with getting him here, and it is an edge. And from what I've heard, he is a very nice player, and I think he can continue to grow into a nice defensive end.
Yeah, they needed to pick up an edge, guys. They really have been lacking in that category for a while, and in a league with so many edge rushers, especially in the AFC, it's a good pickup there. And I had George Karlaftis going to the Giants at 19, so I think it's a good pick here as he fell 11 picks from where I had him.
Now we go to 31. The Bengals get a safety, Daxton Hill. I like this pick. He's from Michigan, just adding to the secondary. So I really like that, and they compare him with Jesse Bates.
Yeah, I probably would have gone O lineman here, but I'm totally fine with the way they did building up their defense. Uh, this pick could work out, and if it did, that would be a great selection because, like you said, you can pair him right next to Jesse Bates, and that'd be a pretty good no-fly zone.
Yeah, and now we go on to the final pick of the draft and the final trade of the night, and that's the Vikings trading with the Lions to get the 32nd overall pick, and that's to select safety Lewis Cine from Georgia. And they do have some older safeties, like why am I? Man, I can't remember his name. I know I should know his name. You want to help me?
Safety for the Vikings, Harrison
Vikings.
Smith.
Yeah, the guy that can absolutely demolish people.
Yeah.
But he's getting older, so now you get another safety, and for now you have some great safeties.
Yeah, and Harrison Smith is more of like a Jamal Adams, even though Harrison Smith can play the ball better than Jamal Adams, and Jamal Adams is more of a rusher. Harrison Smith is still a better tackler than he is a guarding somebody one-on-one, and now you have a one-on-one safety. And while I do not think Lewis Cine should have been taken in the first round, I understand their selection.
Yeah, I agree. It was interesting to see them trade in and not select a QB, and that's one thing that surprised me is only one QB was drafted, and if you can snag Willis or Ritter in the second round, I think that's a nice pick. Because I am high on Ritter. I think he'll be a good QB. It'll be interesting to see if there's a trade up in the second round to get Ritter.
Yeah, I totally agree. I think Ritter has a lot of upside. I said that yesterday, so I definitely feel like he could be a good player. And obviously, they're going to be taken in the second round because there's, in my opinion, no way that both of those guys fall, or either of those guys fall, I should say, to the third.
Well, yeah, if I saw them fall into the middle of the second round, I would be very surprised. Even late second round, I'm like, I think they'll be gone in the first 10 picks in the second round.
Yeah, I agree with you.
So yeah, it will be interesting to see. It will be interesting how everything else unfolds in the draft, and we'll keep you updated on that. But here's our review of the first round, and thank you for listening to Outsiders Opinions.